Hello fellow brawlers, I'm KairosTime and it is time to brawl. Today we're going to be talking about something that I think is going to be happening in the next update. I think we are going to either get 3rd star powers for every single brawler in the game, or we are going to get a 2nd gadget for every brawler in the next update. Maybe even both. Okay, probably not both, but you guys know that I don't just speculate on things like this unless I have a solid reason to. So why do I think all this? We'll get into that in a minute, but first, this video is sponsored by OnePlus, and they've actually been a long-time partner on my channel, and I firmly believe in their phones. Did you know that Brawl Stars can run up to 120 frames per second, but most phones only show you 60 frames per second? That is significant because early studies have shown that gamers have slower reaction times at 60 frames per second when compared to gamers who are playing at 90 frames per second or 120 frames per second. And that is why I love my OnePlus devices. The OnePlus 7 and 8 series phones all play Brawl Stars at 90 frames per second. And the OnePlus 8 Pro is one of only 2 phones that can play Brawl Stars at 120 frames per second. Now you can't actually tell in my videos because YouTube downscales the videos of 60 frames per second, but as somebody who has played Brawl Stars on many different devices with various different refresh rates, I can tell you that it makes an absolute difference in gameplay. I seriously cannot stand playing Brawl Stars at 60 frames per second anymore. 90 frames per second is a huge improvement, but 120 frames per second is buttery smooth. On top of that, the OnePlus 8 and 8 Pro are the first phones to be able to play Fortnite mobile at 90 frames per second. OnePlus is literally bridging the gap between mobile gaming and PC gaming, which is proof that they're innovating the mobile scene. Now, whether you're just curious or you're looking to upgrade your phone, you can click on the link in the description below of any of my videos for more information on OnePlus. And once again, a huge thank you to OnePlus for sponsoring my channel. Now, some of you longtime fans of Supercell games know that Supercell is a Finnish company. And in Finland, it is a legal requirement for companies to give all of their full-time employees a 30-day vacation for summer break, which I honestly think is really awesome, but that means that Supercell has a month where development for their games comes to a complete crawl, right? And that means less content to keep people interested in the game. And in the past, that has led to a decreased interest in Supercell games for the summer, not to mention a lot of really high expectations for the post-summer update. In fact, I remember a huge amount of players leaving Clash Royale after a summer update that they were dissatisfied with because of this exact issue. And since then, Supercell has been trying to figure out a way to maintain interest throughout the summer, while also giving their employees a much-deserved summer break. Last year, the Brawl Stars team came up with an ingenious way to overcome this. They came out with an update right before their summer break where every brawler got a 2nd star power, right? But rather than putting all the new star powers into the game immediately, they released 3 star powers each week. Now that did 2 things. First of all, it kept interest in Brawl Stars very high all summer long, and second of all, it gave Supercell some time to recover after their break and come back with an increased interest in Brawl Stars rather than a decreased interest. Okay, now ever since that happened, I was like, we are absolutely getting new star powers every single year during the summer because of how well it went over last year. But then gadgets were released, and wouldn't you know it, Supercell already built the UI to make expansion for gadgets possible. You guys see what I see, right? 2 out of 2 star powers and 1 out of 1 for gadgets. Why would they even put that 1 out of 1 if they plan on only having 1 gadget, right? Why not just show the gadget without the number? Because 1 out of 1 just looks weird, right? Why is it that when you click on the gadget, this thing pops up just like it does with star powers rather than just like a quick description bubble like we used to have? I'm guessing it's because they knew that they would be expanding to more than 1 gadget soon after the release of gadgets. And as soon as gadgets were put into the game, I felt like it was obvious that we'd be getting new gadgets for this summer update. And we know that the next update is happening in July because Ryan told us in Brawl Talk. Now this all is obviously just speculation on my part, but I feel like there is a lot of reason to believe that we will be getting 2nd gadgets for every brawler in this upcoming update. And you guys know that I can't just predict gadgets are coming without also predicting which gadgets Supercell might put into the game. After all, I'm the king of predictions. I've guessed several new brawlers and several other things, and I have a really good understanding of what kinds of things would work well inside Brawl Stars. So I'm going to go through all 37 brawlers in the game and give 1 gadget idea for each brawler. Now I've thought really hard about which types of gadgets would fit each brawler the best and which types of gadgets are missing from the game. And I want you guys to tell me the best 3 that you want in the game, as well as if you have any ideas, you should drop them in the comment section below. We'll go through the brawlers alphabetically, starting with 8-bit and ending with Tick. First up, 8-Bit with D-Booster. When activated, 8-Bit's turret switches from increasing friendly damage to slowing enemy brawlers within its radius to be even possibly as slow as 8-Bit, or even slower if it's an enemy 8-Bit, which that would just be sad. If used a second time, it would switch back to increasing friendly damage. Next is Barley with Bottoms Up. Barley throws a delicious drink to any friendly teammates within range and heals them for 1,500 health as soon as it hits them. For B, we've got Be Scared. B sends a spare bee to a teammate who it will fly around until their next attack. For their next attack, the bee will also attack just as if like B was shooting it in the direction that they were aiming. That way the damage from the bee's attack and the teammate's attack would stack, and B could lend either a regular bee or a supercharged bee for a really intense super attack, right? Next is BB's Bubblegum Trap. BB lays a mine underneath her, and if enemies walk over it, bubblegum will explode out and slow enemies that touch it. Now the bubblegum would extend kind of like Sprout's super walls do to cover a large area for up to 10 seconds. Bo's gadget idea is Snake Trap. Bo can instantly blow any mines on the field up by using this gadget. This would be used to instantly deal damage to anyone trying to disarm the traps or to deal damage to objects like walls, safes, or turrets. Brock fires a guided missile that is guaranteed to hit its target for 2,500 damage. Now an enemy must be within range of Brock's regular attack and within sight without any walls blocking it for Brock to use this gadget. Now when activated, it would take 3 seconds for the missile to lock on. If an enemy gets outside of range within those 3 seconds, the missile doesn't fire and Brock can activate it again later. But if it does lock on, then it fires and guarantees 2,500 damage. For Bull, we have Raging Bull. Bull chooses when to go Berserk mode and doubles his reload speed for 3 seconds. If used with his Berserker star power, his reload speed becomes 3 times as fast as normal for those 3 seconds. For Carl, we have Geode Smasher. Carl smashes his pickaxe at an enemy within melee range and deals 1,500 damage to them. This attack can only deal damage to one enemy. Colt's gadget idea is Big Bullet. Colt loads a big bullet into his gun that can deal all the damage from 6 regular bullets in one shot if it hits. That's 2,688 damage. Now Colt's next attack will use the big bullet rather than his 6 small bullets so that he can aim it where he wants to. Next is Crow with Super Toxins. Crow's next attack becomes laced with a super toxin that also slows enemies for 5 seconds. And for Daryl, we have Quick Roll. When activated, Daryl's super immediately recharges so he can use it whenever he needs to. This would obviously allow Daryl to do one roll right after the next, and since it might be a little too strong, flashbacks to Daryl's original super. I feel like it would be fair for this to only be usable 2 times per match. Dynamite's gadget idea is Canary Song. The canary under Dynamite's helmet sings a sweet lullaby that makes enemies within a 4-tile radius fall asleep. They'll either wake up after 3 seconds or if any damage is dealt to them. Next is El Primo with Headlock. El Primo puts a close by enemy in a headlock, which deals 500 damage to them, but neither El Primo or the enemy can move or attack for 3 seconds. For Ems, we have Perfume. Ems releases a sweet perfume that heals her and teammates that are close by for 1,000 health. Next is Frank with Pounding Hammer. Frank pounds the ground around him with a small wind-up, dealing 1,500 damage to all enemies in a circle around him. Kind of like Mortis's current gadget, but it does require a little bit of a wind-up. The next gadget idea is Gale's Snow Wall. Gale drops a wall of snow where he's standing that then pushes him forward. Think of this like Sprout's super being aimed directly where Sprout is, except that Gale wouldn't have the option to aim it like Sprout does. Jean's gadget idea is Grant a Wish. If a teammate dies, Jean can grant their wish and have them respawn where they died if he activates this gadget before they start respawning back at the spawn point. Now they would respawn with no ammo like 8-Bit's extra life star power, and this ability could only be used twice per match. Next is Jackie's Pogo Jack. Jackie turns on her jackhammer while riding it, which deals 500 damage per second for 4 seconds. Now the impacted area would have a slightly smaller radius than Jackie's regular attack. Next is Jesse's gadget idea, Overcharge. When activated, Scrappy's firing speed doubles for 5 seconds, which obviously is going to cause some serious pain for anyone who doesn't try to dodge the shots. Next is Leon's with Ninjump. Leon jumps into the air and lands right next to an enemy target within a 5-tile radius of him. Think of kind of like a quick crow super, but it can't be manually aimed and it doesn't deal damage to enemies. Up next is Max with Sugar Crash. Max can immediately start the normal healing process by activating her gadget, but she can't move until after 2 seconds. This is kind of like the opposite of Sandy's sleep simulator because the healing starts immediately. It's not the full healing, but it starts immediately as opposed to fully healing after 2 seconds. And when I say natural healing, I'm talking about the healing that happens after 3 seconds of you not taking damage or not firing an attack. Mortis's gadget idea is Shapeshift. Mortis turns into into a bat and can fly around for 5 seconds. Now, while he's a bat, he has increased movement speed, he can fly over walls, and enemies cannot hurt him. But the drawback is that he cannot hurt them either, and he can't start healing or reloading during that time as well. The next gadget idea is room service for Mr. P. Mr. P spawns a second porter that follows damaged teammates and heals them for 364 instead of damaging enemies. You can think of this like Terra's healing shade star power, but with slower movement speed and less healing. Next is Nani with laser beam. Nani's next attack becomes a powerful laser beam that deals more damage the longer enemies are standing in it. It requires a little bit of a wind up and lasts for a few seconds, dealing minimal damage to anyone who escapes quickly and high amounts of damage to anyone caught within the entire blast. For this ability, you'd press the gadget and then your next attack would be this laser beam. Next is Nita's ride a bear gadget idea. If Nita is close to her bear, she can activate this gadget to hop onto her bear Bruce. While she's on top of the bear, she can control where Bruce walks, but she would also have the slow movement speed that Bruce normally has. Now, Nita could still manually aim her regular attacks, and if Bruce is close by to enemy brawlers, he would automatically start attacking them. Now, Bruce's health would act as a temporary HP for Nita, and her ride would end once Bruce's HP falls to 0, or she could just press the gadget button again to hop off. Next is Pam with Angry Mama. When Pam activates this gadget, her turret would explode and deal 1,200 damage to any enemies within its radius. Think kind of similar to Penny's pocket detonator, except it would cover a much wider area and deal less damage. Next is Penny with Quickfire. When Penny uses this gadget, her cannon will shoot an additional cannonball at the nearest enemy in sight. It would deal the normal damage of like a regular cannonball attack from her super, except she would be able to choose when to fire it. Next is Piper's gadget idea with Heavy Parasol. Piper uses her umbrella as a shield that reduces incoming damage by 30% for the next 3 seconds. The next idea is for Poco's gadget called Up to 11. Poco sends out a burst of music that is so loud that close by enemies have to use their hands to cover their ears. This makes it impossible for them to attack for 2 seconds, but they can still move if they want to. Next is Rico with Trampoline. Rico places a trampoline on the ground that he and teammates can use to get around. Think of it kind of like Gale's jump pad, but as soon as you run into it, it bounces you in the direction that you're moving, but only half as far as a jump pad normally does. Next is Rosa with Venus Bush Trap. Rosa transforms an ordinary bush into a plant monster that chases enemies down and explodes once it reaches them. You can think of this like Tick's super, but it requires a bush and it would have slightly less health and deal less damage. For Sandy, I came up with the idea for Tornado. When Sandy's super is on the ground and an enemy is inside it, Sandy could use this gadget to turn his sandstorm into a tornado that would suck enemy brawlers toward the center. It wouldn't have as much pulling force as like Terra's super, and brawlers could still escape if they ran out, but it would slow them down. Shelly's gadget idea is Shellebration. Shelly blasts a shell into the air full of confetti that encourages her and any teammates close by, which would then heal them for 90 health. For Spike, we have Cactus Bomb. Spike plants a cactus bomb into the ground that explodes if enemies get close to it. It blows up just like a regular Spike attack does, and it can deal the same amount of damage. Kind of similar to Spike, we've got Sprout's Thorny Vines. When Sprout activates this gadget and he has walls on the ground, each of the wall pieces would explode and shoot out vine pieces that can deal damage to enemies. Each wall acts as its own projectile, with thorns shooting out away from the center of the super, similar to Spike's attack. Next, we got Terra with Wormhole. Terra creates a wormhole that friendly brawlers can use to travel from one location to the other. When Terra activates this gadget once, the first wormhole is placed where she's standing. When Terra activates the gadget for a second time, the second wormhole is placed. And then brawlers can actually travel between those 2 wormholes. And if Terra activates her gadget a third time, the first wormhole is replaced with the third wormhole, and then the second and third wormhole would be connected to each other. Now, this gadget would obviously have to have some type of a maximum range, so players couldn't use it to travel distances that are too extreme. And lastly, we got Tick with Self-Destruct. Tick's head explodes, and he explodes with it. It deals full damage to Tick and enemies who are close by, as well as knocks enemies back. This would leave Tick with just under 300 health if he used it at max HP. But most of the time, he would just die if he just had a little bit of damage, so you'd have to be really careful about when you use it. And those are my gadget ideas for every brawler in the game. Now, I really want to know which ones you want in the game the most, and I also want to know what your ideas for future gadgets are. You never know, is Supercell's gonna be like looking in the comment section for ideas, right? Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Use code Kairos in the Brawl Stars shop, and for now, this is KairosTime ticking by, and we will see you in Brawl Stars.